It's Easter 1883, and we've got two very different church scenes. One with the Scots in Philly at a black congregation, and the other with the fancy crowd, Astor's, Russell's, Van Ryn's, at a bougie NYC church where a new guy, Reverend Luke Fort, is preaching. Agnes's widowed nephew-in-law, Dashiell, shows up in NYC with his daughter Frances. Marian finds out her ex Tom is engaged to Miss Bingham. Bertha, salty about being iced out by Mrs. Astor's opera clique, decides to back the new Metropolitan Opera to give the rich but new crowd their own scene. Meanwhile, George and his fellow rich dudes are dealing with labor drama. Oscar shows up at Agnes's house all beat up after a gay hookup goes sideways. Still, he proposes to Gladys, pretending it's about love, but really just trying to keep up appearances while living his double life. Bertha throws a power dinner and shocks everyone by pulling in a big-name opera singer. Total flex. And Peggy meets the family who adopted her son in Philly. Gladys straight up refuses to go to Newport until Oscar finally locks down that proposal. George, who knows Oscar's real deal, tells her to marry for love, not just to escape her overbearing mom. Marian won't quit her watercolor classes, even though Agnes is totally against it. Agnes also tells Armstrong to show Peggy some respect when she returns as her secretary. In Newport, a rich widow, Susan Blaine, hires Larry to redo her house. And things get romantic, which Bertha is not happy about. Aurora tries to set Marian up with Edward Morgan, who turns out to be a sloppy drunk in a fancy suit. Back in the steel world, workers in Chicago go on strike, and then the Russells find out Mr. Winterton's new wife is Turner, aka Bertha's ex-maid. Awkward. The opera war is heating up. Bertha's hyped for the Duke of Buckingham's visit and pushing hard for the Met, forcing NYC's elite to pick sides. Mrs. Astor ropes in Agnes to help save the Academy of Music. Dashiell is low-key trying to date Marian, but she's not exactly jumping at it. Meanwhile, George tries, again, to bribe the Pittsburgh Union guy. No luck. Then Turner, now Mrs. Winterton, brings up her past with George, and Bertha loses it. He swears nothing happened, and she believes him, but she's still mad he kept it secret. Peggy's in Tuskegee covering a dorm opening at a black school, but her parents worry she's underestimating how bad the racism could get. Watson's rich son-in-law offers him money to disappear, but Watson says his daughter has to ask him herself, and Ada's still sneaking around with Reverend Fort. Bertha shows off the unfinished Met Opera House to secure box sales. Mr. Gilbert quietly tells her construction's paused, but it gets fixed fast. She also forces Mrs. Blaine to break up with Larry. Ada accepts Reverend's proposal while Oscar eyes Maud Beaton, a rich girl with scandalous rumors. After Mrs. Astor tells Mr. Winterton to ditch his wife's academy box, he switches sides to the Met. Bertha pulls a power move at dinner, rearranging seats to sit next to the Duke, stealing him from Mrs. Winterton again by inviting him to stay at her Newport home. Meanwhile, Peggy and Fortune visit Booker T. Washington, and George starts scheming with other businessmen to shut down upcoming labor strikes. Two shady servants try to sabotage the Russells' fancy dinner for the Duke of Buckingham, but Watson and Church save the day. The dinner goes off perfectly, which ticks off Mrs. Winterton. Yep, she was behind the whole thing. Ada and Reverend Fort get engaged. Marian and Oscar are happy for them, but Agnes is not having it. Later, she opens up to Fort, saying she's scared of being alone. He reassures her Ada's not going anywhere. Oscar meets Mr. Crowther, a businessman buying up the Chicago Atlantic Railroad, something Miss Beaton's got money in, so Oscar decides to invest too. In Tuskegee, two white men threaten black diners at a restaurant. Fortune stands up to them, and he and Peggy run off. While hiding, they finally share a kiss. George sends Larry to a meeting about the Brooklyn Bridge opening. There, Larry finds out Washington Roebling's wife, Emily, has been running the whole project for her sick husband. By the end, even Agnes shows up to Ada and Forday's wedding. Mrs. Winterton tries to blackmail Bertha for the Met's center box, but Bertha wins after George secretly funds the Met and forces Gilbert to hand it over. Bannister almost snitches on Church for drinking, then takes it back after learning it was his late wife's death anniversary. Marian, Agnes, and the staff help Jack with his alarm clock patent, but it gets denied and he's not in the guild. Oscar reinvests in Crowther's railroad, while Peggy asks Fortune to investigate the school board shutting down black schools. Dashiell publicly proposes to Marian. She says yes. Ada and Forte return from their honeymoon, only to find out he has cancer. Meanwhile, George almost uses force on striking workers but backs down and agrees to negotiate. George gives the steelworkers some wins, but secretly plans to crush their union later. Mrs. Astor tries to win Bertha back with a music academy box, but George sees through it and pushes Bertha to stick with the Met. To keep black schools open, the board considers bringing in Irish teachers to draw in poor white students. At the Brooklyn Bridge event, Larry shouts out Mrs. Roebling for running the show. Agnes is busy planning Marion's wedding, while Reverend Forte's health keeps getting worse. Oscar's ready to propose to Miss Beaton, but finds out she, Crowther, and his investment are all gone. Watson's daughter, Flora, finally tells him she never wanted him to leave. He gets a pension and a place in her life again. Bannister helps Jack join a watchmaker's guild, and boom, his alarm clock patent gets approved. Before Luke dies, Agnes thanks him for making Ada happy and giving her a new reason to live. And Oscar? He confesses to Agnes that he's basically lost all the Von Rhine money. It's October 1883, and both opera houses are about to open. NYC's elite has to pick a side. Mrs. Astor steals the Duke for the Academy, but Bertha plays hardball to win him back. Oscar blows the family money so Ada, Agnes, and Marion prep to sell the house. Marion also dumps Dashiell, just not a match. The school board secretly tries to shut down black schools, but the plan gets blocked. Jack's patent finally gets approved, and Larry offers to partner up. Marion shows up at the Met with the Russells, annoying Agnes. Watson leaves for good, and Peggy quits the Globe to avoid married man mess with Fortune. Mrs. Winterton loses the center opera box, and the Duke. He shows up at the Met with Bertha, and rumor has it, she promised him Gladys and a big dowry. The Met wins, the Academy flops. Then Ada finds out Fort was secretly rich, so no need to sell the house. Total relief for her and Agnes. And yep, Larry walks Marion home. Cue the kiss.